You may have noticed there's a war on. Now, it might seem like a faraway conflict in the Middle East, something that's happening on the news and that has nothing to do with the world of cars, but in reality, it absolutely does. Because right now, there are hundreds of ships carrying oil, car parts, and even entire vehicles stuck out at sea. Fuel prices are climbing, shipping routes are shutting down, car factories thousands of miles away can't get the parts that they need to make the cars that you want. And suddenly, the question becomes, could the war in Iran actually crash the global car industry? Because believe it or not, from Toyota to BMW, Tesla, Hyundai, the entire automotive world depends on a narrow stretch of water, just 21 miles wide. It's called the Strait of Hormuz. And right now, it's turned into a no-go zone, with ships stranded on the wrong side. And then there's a wider impact of a war taking place somewhere that you may not normally think about, but which is actually the middle of the world's business traffic. It's inevitable that it has deep and far-reaching consequences, because when global trade gets disrupted, the car industry is often the first to stall at the lights.
A brown car guy. Brown car guy.
Let's start with geography. There's a narrow stretch of water between Iran and Oman called the Strait of Hormuz. It might be the most important shipping choke point on the planet. About 20% of the world's oil supply passes through that. Let that sink in. 1/5 of all the oil used by the global economy moves through this tiny corridor. Every day, tankers pass through carrying crude from Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Iraq, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates. And that oil powers cars, trucks, factories, airlines, and of course, shipping itself. But oil isn't the only thing that's moving through Hormuz. And this is where the car industry enters the story, because the Strait of Hormuz is also the gateway to the Persian Gulf. And inside that Gulf sits one of the most important logistics hubs in global trade, in Dubai, more specifically, Jebel Ali Port. Now, if you're not in the shipping industry, you might never even have heard of Jebel Ali, but in global logistics, it's absolutely enormous. It is actually physically enormous. I've been there. It takes a while even to drive around it. Jebel Ali is the largest container port in the Middle East and one of the top 10 globally. Every year, it handles millions of containers moving between Asia, Europe, Africa, and of course, the Middle East. And a surprising amount of that cargo is automotive related. We're talking cars, car parts, electronics, tires, batteries, aftermarket components, entire vehicles if you like. And here's the key thing about all of this. A lot of this cargo isn't actually destined for Dubai, of course. Dubai acts as a global redistribution hub. Think of it like a giant sorting center for global trade. Ships unload containers at Jebel Ali, and these containers are then redistributed to Africa, Europe, Central Asia, Middle Eastern markets, and so on. So ships carrying automotive parts might stop there to just unload cargo or reload new containers or refuel or just change routes, which means a huge amount of automotive cargo is constantly passing through the Gulf and hence currently stuck there. Now imagine what happens when a war suddenly escalates in that region. Some ships are already inside the Persian Gulf. Others are heading towards ports like I said, Dubai, Jebel Ali, but also Kuwait, Bahrain, and Qatar. But here's the catch. There is only one way in and out of that Persian Gulf, and that of course is the Strait of Hormuz. So if that narrow passage becomes dangerous, or as Iran says, we won't allow anything through it or we'll set it on fire, then ships inside the Gulf can't leave and ships outside the Gulf can't come in. They're effectively trapped on each side. At one point recently, around 170 container ships were stuck near the Strait of Hormuz, along with hundreds of oil tankers. Some crews reportedly just sitting at anchor while explosions are lighting up the horizon. And their poor guys are just sitting there waiting, not knowing when it would be safe to sail again. And that's where the car industry begins to feel this shock to its systems.
Please like, share, comment, and subscribe.
The automotive industry depends on something else moving through that route too. Petrochemicals. Oh yeah, modern cars contain huge amounts of plastics, rubber, synthetic materials. All of these are derived from oil. I'm talking about things like the dashboard, wiring insulation, even tires, bumpers, adhesives, seat foam. In fact, roughly 15 to 20% of a modern car is made from plastics and synthetic materials derived from petrochemicals. If petrochemical supply is disrupted, the cost of building cars rises almost instantly. Analysts are already warning that feedstock chemicals like polypropylene and ethylene, critical to automotive plastics, could rise 15 to 25% in cost. And that means higher production costs for every car manufacturer across the board. Then there's the supply chain problem. Modern car manufacturing relies on something called just-in-time production. Factories don't store huge warehouses of parts anymore. Instead, components arrive exactly when and where they are needed, which means a car factory might receive engines from one country, electronics from another, wiring harnesses from somewhere else, and interior components from yet another supplier. And all of these things arrive at precisely the right moment in the right place to go onto the cars. It's incredibly complex but very efficient, but it's also incredibly fragile, because if one shipment is delayed, the whole production line has to come to a halt. And we've seen this before. We saw it during COVID, during the global semiconductor shortage as well. Factories ended up shutting down because they just couldn't get critical parts. And it's not like they didn't get all the parts, just one element meant they had to shut down the whole line. Toyota alone cut production by hundreds of thousands of vehicles during the chip crisis. The same thing could happen again if shipping routes remain disrupted. Some of the biggest car manufacturing nations are also heavily dependent on Gulf energy. Japan imports around 90% of its oil from the Middle East. South Korea sources roughly 70%. India, about half. That means that car manufacturers like Toyota, Honda, Nissan, Hyundai, Kia, and Indian car companies like Mahindra, Tata, and Suzuki Maruti are all extremely sensitive to energy price shocks. If oil prices surge, their production costs also rise dramatically. And remember, energy-intensive processes like aluminium smelting or steel production, battery manufacturing, all of these will also become a lot more expensive. But rising fuel prices don't just affect factories, they affect buyers. When petrol prices rise, consumers rethink the kind of car that they're going to buy. And we saw this during the 2008 fuel crisis and also more recently as well. This is when Americans abandoned large SUVs and pickup trucks in favor of smaller, more efficient cars. Analysts now warn that a prolonged conflict could hit automakers that rely heavily on vehicles like trucks, SUVs, and high-performance sports cars. That's bad news for car companies like Ford, GM, Stellantis, whose profits heavily depend on large vehicles. It's also bad news for the American car market, which, under Trump, ironically enough, has backtracked on commitments to electrification and EVs and gone all in on petrol cars. Which of course brings us to electric cars. Now, we've seen in the past that high petrol prices can sometimes accelerate the shift towards consumers buying EVs. If fuel becomes expensive, then EV running costs suddenly look a bit more attractive. But even EVs are not immune to this crisis. Battery materials like lithium and nickel, etc., travel through those global shipping networks. And China, which currently produces around 3/4 of the world's EV batteries, relies heavily on maritime shipping routes. So this time, the war could disrupt both traditional cars and EV supply chains.
This is the only comprehensive guide to car journalism and content creation.
The Ulez Files is a novel, an all-action thriller with great reviews on Amazon.
A collection of 13 short stories written over 20 years featuring cars, sci-fi, and stories about the human condition. Please buy Brown Car Guy's books available on Amazon.com or Kindle Unlimited.
Behind the scenes, car companies are already watching the situation closely. Some manufacturers are increasing inventory buffers, looking for alternative shipping routes or diversifying suppliers. Others are exploring regional manufacturing to reduce reliance on long supply chains. Because one thing is becoming clear: geopolitics is becoming a permanent factor in car manufacturing. But the biggest threat to the car industry might not actually be the shipping or even the oil. It's finance. Because the global car industry runs on one thing above all else, you could say, and it's not fuel, it's credit. Most people don't walk into a car showroom and then buy a car with cash. They finance it. In many countries, 80 to 90% of new cars are bought using loans, leasing, or PCP finance, which means interest rates matter enormously. And this is where war can also have a huge impact. When geopolitical crises hit global energy supply, oil prices rise. When oil prices rise, transport costs rise, manufacturing costs rise, and food prices rise. And all of that feeds into inflation. Central banks then face a dilemma. And if inflation rises again because of energy shocks, they may have to delay cutting interest rates or even raise them. And that has, of course, a direct impact on the car market, because higher interest rates mean more expensive car loans. For the average UK driver, the war premium is rapidly turning the car from a tool of freedom into a serious financial burden. As the Bank of England freezes rate cuts in response to Middle East-driven inflation, the era of competitive 3 or 4% HP or PCP deals could vanish, replaced by lenders tightening their belts and hiking APRs to reflect the new high-risk economic climate. Suddenly that £40,000 car becomes much harder to afford. Monthly payments jump, consumers hesitate, and dealerships start seeing fewer buyers. And the automotive industry is, of course, extremely sensitive to economic confidence. Cars are, cyclical purchases, but it all depends on how people are feeling at the time, because when the economy feels uncertain, people could delay buying them. They, think about it. If you're worried about rising fuel prices, about inflation, about job security, or even global instability, the last thing you're thinking about is rushing out and buying a brand new car. You might go, let's just keep the old one a bit longer and see how things go. You postpone the purchase. And if millions of people do that at the same time, car sales drop very quickly. It's terrible timing, because the UK in February this year just had its best month for new car sales. And it's sad because falling demand means factories will slow production, inventory will build up, and discounts will increase while profits will fall. And suddenly car companies face pressure from both directions at once: higher costs and weaker demand. And that is one of the reasons that the automotive industry is considered one of the most economically sensitive industries in the world.
Please support Brown Car Guy at Ko-fi.com, Patreon.com, or here on YouTube.
So the war in Iran isn't just a geopolitical story, it's a potential shockwave for the entire global automotive industry. Ships stuck at sea, oil supply disrupted, fuel prices rising, car factories waiting for parts, consumers delaying purchases. Because in a world built on global supply chains, a conflict in one narrow shipping lane can ripple through every car showroom on earth. Manufacturers are already warning of production delays and surcharges as they reroute parts around Africa or pay skyrocketing war risk insurance premiums. In short, you'll likely face a triple hit: a higher monthly finance payment, a higher sticker price due to logistics chaos, and a staggering £1.50 plus per litre at the pump just to keep your car moving. And that's before we even get into how the insurance industry might be hit by all of this, because another hidden cost already hitting shipping, of course, as we mentioned, is war risk insurance. Ships traveling through conflict zones suddenly face massive insurance premiums, and in some cases these costs have tripled overnight, and of course those costs eventually get passed on to consumers as well. Now, to be clear, not all of this has happened yet, but it seems a direction of travel unless this major conflict comes to an end soon. So what do you think? Could this war trigger another global car shortage? Could fuel prices surge again? And could this actually accelerate the shift towards electric vehicles? Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll catch you all in the next video. And stay safe out there. Shout out time, guys. Thank you so much. Hey, if you enjoy my content, why not get involved? Buy me a coffee. You can do that at either of these links. Or if you're watching on YouTube, buy me a thanks or take out a membership. It all helps. It really does.